Where does Steven Seagal fall in that line?
He is a legitimate Aikido black belt.
He is, without question, a legitimate Aikido black belt. Hollywood is full of unbelievable behind-the-scenes stories, but few have created as much shock as the events surrounding Steven Seagal. On a set that should have been just another routine day of shooting, one unexpected moment shifted everything. Crew members were stunned, producers scrambled, and by the time the situation settled, Seagal's career had taken a hit no one had anticipated. This wasn't some minor disagreement. It was enough to get him completely barred. So what exactly took place that day? Let's break it down. 20. An ego under pressure. It was 1991, and Saturday Night Live brought Steven Seagal on as their guest host. What should have been a lighthearted night of comedy, instead, turned into one of the most chaotic episodes the show ever filmed. From the moment rehearsals began, Seagal pushed back against the writers. He rejected sketch ideas, demanded rewrites, insisted on performing fight scenes of the Hans and Franz characters himself, and even pitched strange concepts that clashed with SNL style. Cast members were confused. He took himself far too seriously on a show built around self-mockery and playful humiliation. By the time the live broadcast started, the tension backstage was impossible to ignore. The audience sensed it too, and the episode fell flat. Behind the scenes, producer Lorne Michaels made a quiet decision. Seagal would never return. That night, Steven Seagal was banned after his behavior on set, becoming one of the very few hosts SNL ever cut ties with completely. It remains one of the most whispered about hosting disasters in the show's history. 19. Connery's wrist incident. In the early 1980s, Sean Connery was filming Never Say Never Again. For the fight scenes, producers brought in an up-and-coming martial artist named Steven Seagal to train the cast. Everything began professionally until Connery made a bold move during rehearsal. According to Connery, Seagal responded with a sudden, controlled technique that resulted in Connery's wrist being fractured. Connery later stated he didn't believe it was an accident. He suspected Seagal was making a point about power, skill, or perhaps ego. The injury forced Connery to continue filming with a broken wrist for the rest of production. Hollywood stunt work is designed to be safe and carefully choreographed. But this moment, according to Connery's account, blurred the line between performance and real aggression. Fans of both men still debate what truly happened in that rehearsal room, and whether the move was pure technique, provocation, or a mixture of the two. 18. Alba's correction. While filming Machete, Jessica Alba shared scenes with Steven Seagal. In a casual interview, she referred to Seagal simply as an actor, something most people would see as normal, considering they were co-stars. But Seagal quickly interrupted her, correcting her with a serious tone. "I'm an officer of the law." It wasn't meant as a joke. Seagal, who had spent time collaborating with law enforcement agencies, clearly preferred to be recognized for that rather than his film career. Alba calmly replied, "He's Steven Seagal," and in exchange in a way that made it obvious she wasn't interested in feeding his ego. Moments like this can shift the mood of a set instantly. What began as small talk became an awkward standoff. While this didn't shut down production, it gave everyone present a glimpse of how seriously Seagal viewed himself, sometimes more seriously than his colleagues did. 17. Margulies and the Hotel Alarm. Before she became known for The Good Wife, Juliana Margulies had an early audition with Steven Seagal. Instead of being held in a casting office, she was asked to meet him in his hotel room. The meeting was supposed to be a quick read-through, but when she sat on the couch, she felt something hard beneath the cushion. Curious and uneasy, she reached down and found a loaded handgun. Margulies froze. Seagal calmly explained it was for protection. But for her, the moment completely changed the tone of the meeting. She wrapped up quickly and left. When she was later offered the role, she accepted, but made sure she was never alone with him during filming. Hotel room auditions were already frowned upon in the industry, but the presence of a weapon made the encounter unforgettable. Margulies later described the moment as a turning point in how she approached personal safety on sets. To others, it became another unsettling story circulating around Hollywood about Seagal. 16. The stunt legend incident. Gene LaBelle is a legendary figure in the stunt community, a man whose career spans decades. On the set of Out for Justice, LaBelle and Seagal reportedly disagreed about how realistic their fight choreography should appear. According to long-circulating crew rumors, Seagal insisted he could not be choked unconscious. LaBelle allegedly demonstrated otherwise. The story claims that Seagal passed out during the hold, and some versions add that he lost control of his bladder. Seagal has denied the incident, and LaBelle never fully confirmed it. He simply said, "Decide for yourself." In stunt circles, that was almost as good as confirmation, and the tale spread rapidly. Whether entirely true or exaggerated through years of retelling, it became one of the most frequently discussed stories about Seagal's on-set behavior. It was another instance, at least according to accounts, where Seagal's actions reportedly led to tension, embarrassment, and lasting reputation issues within the industry. 15. Leguizamo and the Wall. While rehearsing on the set of Executive Decision, John Leguizamo was preparing for a scene when Steven Seagal walked in and declared, "I'm in command here. What I say is law." Leguizamo assumed it was a joke and laughed. Seagal, according to Leguizamo's retellings, didn't appreciate it. Without warning, he reportedly shoved his elbow into Leguizamo's chest, slamming him against a brick wall and knocking the wind out of him. The room froze. What should have been a simple rehearsal instantly turned tense. Leguizamo has repeated the story over the years, emphasizing that it wasn't playful roughhousing. It felt like a deliberate power move. It showed how Seagal allegedly reacted when he felt his authority was threatened. On sets, hierarchy matters, but this went beyond a certain control. It reportedly veered into intimidation. Everyone present got the message. Challenging Seagal, even unintentionally, could have consequences. 14. Busey's intervention. During the filming of Under Siege, actress Erika Eleniak played a former Playboy model turned ship's cook. She was still relatively new to major action productions, and her role already included a demanding moment where she emerged from a cake wearing a revealing outfit. According to quiet whispers in the cast, Seagal allegedly pushed to add an intimate moment between their characters, something Eleniak reportedly did not feel comfortable with. That's when co-star Gary Busey stepped in. Known for his intense, unpredictable screen presence, Busey surprised people by taking a calm but unmistakably firm stance off camera. He made it clear that Eleniak wasn't interested in the added moment, and that pushing her boundaries wasn't acceptable. After that conversation, the subject was reportedly dropped, though tension lingered throughout the rest of the shoot. 13. The Glimmer Man rewrite. On The Glimmer Man, Seagal was originally cast as a no-nonsense cop in a gritty action thriller, but midway through filming, he reportedly experienced what he described as a spiritual awakening. Out of nowhere, he informed the director that he didn't want his character to kill anyone. In an action movie, that's a major complication. The writing team had to adjust the script on the spot, reworking major sequences to avoid lethal violence. Fight scenes were toned down, gunplay was reduced, and entire sequences had to be reimagined. Things escalated during the final confrontation. In the original script, Seagal's character was supposed to kill the villain. Instead, on the day of shooting, Seagal improvised a line about sparing the antagonist's life. The sudden change forced costly reshoots to preserve the intended tone of the film. For the crew, the constant adjustments weren't creative input. They felt like disruptions that drained time and resources. Directors expect actors to contribute ideas, but when those ideas change the core of the story, it can derail the entire production. On The Glimmer Man, that's exactly what reportedly happened. 12. The Today You Die lawsuit. By 2005, Steven Seagal already had a long history of challenging on-set stories, but Today You Die introduced a new level of controversy. The production company filed a $14 million lawsuit against him, claiming he arrived late, refused to film scheduled scenes, and made unauthorized script changes. According to the lawsuit, Seagal's behavior caused delays that drove the film over budget. In one instance, he reportedly didn't show up at all, leaving the entire crew waiting. An extremely costly setback for an independent action film where every hour counts. The legal battle dragged on, with Seagal denying the accusations. But regardless of the outcome, the production had already suffered major damage. What should have been a straightforward action movie became tangled in behind-the-scenes chaos that made more headlines than the final product. The case further reinforced the growing industry perception that working with Seagal could be complicated, unpredictable, and financially risky. 11. A director's breaking point. Anthony Hickox had built a solid reputation in the horror genre before taking on the action film Submerged. Starring Steven Seagal, he saw it as an opportunity to expand his body of work, but the experience nearly pushed him out of action films entirely. According to Hickox, Seagal was frequently absent, skipped takes, and refused to say certain lines. Even when he showed up, he sometimes stood still during action shots, forcing the crew to rely heavily on body doubles. Filming became a logistical nightmare. Hickox later explained that the experience was so demoralizing that once production ended, he vowed never to direct another action movie. It wasn't simply a creative disagreement. It felt like obstruction that drained his enthusiasm and confidence. For a director who had worked with large personalities before, that said a lot. The shoot left a lasting mark on his career and added to the growing collection of stories describing how difficult a Seagal-led production could become. 10. The Throne interview demand. While filming Black Dawn, a direct-to-video action movie, Seagal reportedly made a promotional request that stunned the crew. He insisted that his DVD interview be filmed while he sat on an actual ceremonial throne, one previously used by the former king of Thailand. But he didn't stop there. He wanted the interview shot in the Imperial Gardens of the U.S. Embassy in Bangkok, a location normally reserved for diplomatic events. According to production accounts, Seagal made it clear that unless the interview was filmed exactly as he envisioned, he would refuse to participate in promotional materials. The crew scrambled to accommodate him. Arranging the throne, securing the location, and gathering a film team became an unexpected production within the production. For a modestly budgeted film, these demands were less about marketing and more about image and control. Most actors would simply sit for a quick promotional clip. Seagal, however, turned it into a royal spectacle, literally. The final interview looked like something fit for a monarch, not an action star, cementing the moment as one of the most unusual promotional setups the team had ever encountered. 9. Assistant turmoil on set. During Out for Justice, Seagal was assigned 4 personal assistants to help with scheduling, wardrobe, and daily logistics. But according to reports from the production, his treatment of them was so difficult that 3 assistants quit before filming ended. Sources claimed Seagal was verbally harsh, dismissive, and made requests that had little to do with the film. The disputes escalated to the point where legal threats were involved, and confidential settlements were reportedly paid to resolve the situation. Each assistant was said to have received tens of thousands of dollars. Losing that many assistants on one movie is almost unheard of. The high turnover disrupted the already intense schedule of an action shoot and forced new hires to jump in with little preparation. Even in an industry accustomed to big personalities, this level of conflict sent a clear message. Working closely with Seagal could be unpredictable, stressful, and short-lived. 8. The contact complaints. Stunt professionals Peter Harris-Kent and Mike Leader have both spoken publicly about their experiences working with Steven Seagal, and their accounts weren't flattering. They allege that Seagal struck stunt performers with more force than necessary during fight scenes, ignoring the standard safety protocols that keep stunts controlled and precise. According to their accounts, Seagal justified the real contact by saying it made the action feel more authentic. The problem was that it also left stunt performers bruised or injured. In the stunt community, trust is everything. When an actor disregards a choreography, it can jeopardize safety and morale. Harris-Kent stated that Seagal's behavior was so intense that many stunt workers quietly refused future work with him. Once word spreads in stunt circles, the impact can be permanent. It's one thing to perform dangerous scenes. It's another to feel unsafe around the star of a movie. 7. No reverse shot with Staunton. British actress Imelda Staunton, an Oscar-nominated performer known for her precision and professionalism, signed on to Shadow Man expecting a standard shoot. For 2 days, she filmed important scenes directly opposite Steven Seagal, exchanging dialogue and reactions as usual. But when it was time to film her reverse shots, the camera angles that capture her responses, Seagal was nowhere to be found. Instead of acting with her co-star, Staunton found herself speaking to a stand-in. In some instances, the stand-in wasn't even a professional actor, but a Romanian film student reading lines off camera. Staunton later described her disbelief. Reverse shots are a basic part of filmmaking, and actors typically stay on set to support their scene partners, especially in dialogue-heavy moments. Seagal's absence wasn't just inconvenient. It was unprofessional. For the crew, it meant adjusting lighting and camera setups to work around his sudden disappearance. For Staunton, it was a baffling experience that highlighted how unpredictable a large-scale action production could become when the lead actor didn't follow standard on-set etiquette. 6. Heigl's uncomfortable moment. Katherine Heigl was only 16 when she filmed Under Siege 2, Dark Territory. It was a major opportunity for her, but the experience included a moment she would later call unforgettable and not in a good way. On the final day of filming, Seagal reportedly made a comment that startled her. He told her he had girlfriends her age. Heigl, quick and sharp, replied, "Isn't that illegal?" According to her recollection, Seagal answered, "They don't seem to mind." The exchange left her stunned. In later interviews, Heigl said she found the remark creepy and inappropriate, especially considering she was a minor. For a young actress navigating her first major film role, it became a harsh lesson about the power imbalance that can exist on set. While the incident didn't disrupt the movie itself, it added to the collection of unsettling moments surrounding Seagal. For audiences, Under Siege 2 is an action-packed sequel. For Heigl, it also carries a memory of a conversation she wished had never happened. 5. The unplanned dive into the river. While filming Exit Wounds, Seagal had a habit of avoiding rehearsals. According to co-star Tom Arnold, the cast and crew often waited for him to be ready. One day, they were shooting on a houseboat. After the team had been waiting for around 45 minutes, Seagal finally rose to begin his scene. He walked to the door, opened it, and stepped directly into open water. It wasn't in the script. He had simply chosen the wrong exit. In seconds, the star of the film was struggling in the river. For crew members rushed to pull him back aboard. The incident quickly became set legend, not just because a Hollywood action hero had unexpectedly wandered into the water, but because it underscored the chaos that could arise from his unpredictable on-set habits. In filmmaking, time is money. A 45-minute delay followed by an unexpected plunge meant a total reset. Wardrobe changes, lighting adjustments, and lost daylight. It became one of those unforgettable production moments nobody could quite believe had happened. 4. Chronic tardiness on Today You Die. During the production of Today You Die, arriving late or not appearing at all reportedly became part of Seagal's routine. According to the lawsuit later filed by the production company, he frequently showed up hours behind schedule. If he showed up, every minute, a full crew sits idle costs thousands of dollars. Lighting teams, camera crews, extras, all of them waiting with nothing to film. For smaller productions, delays like this can be devastating. Crew members attempted to adjust, rearranging call times and planning around his availability. But the problem persisted. On days designed for major action sequences requiring precise timing, Seagal's absence could completely halt progress. The frustration wasn't just about money. It was about momentum, planning, and the sense that one person's disregard for schedule put the entire project at risk. In a tightly coordinated production environment, consistent lateness can be catastrophic. 3. The Stuntman Challenge. In Hollywood stunt circles, respect is earned through reliability, expertise, and a commitment to safety. During one production, Seagal reportedly challenged a veteran stuntman, suggesting he was too old for the job. He dared him, "Drop me if you can." It wasn't the sort of comment a stunt professional ignores. The stuntman responded with a classic judo sweep, sending Seagal to the ground. Instead of laughing it off or acknowledging the skill, Seagal allegedly became irritated. He said the stuntman wouldn't be able to do it again, and when the stuntman repeated the move, Seagal reportedly fired him on the spot. For the rest of the crew, the moment became an odd blend of martial arts bravado and bruised pride. What could have been a moment of mutual respect turned into another behind-the-scenes story of tension. Ego clashes like this don't just disrupt morale. They interfere with the collaboration and trust required to keep a production safe and efficient. 2. Assistant payouts. On the set of Out for Justice, Seagal's personal assistants faced challenges from day one. 4 assistants were hired, but only one remained by the end of the shoot. The other 3 quit. claiming Seagal's behavior was intolerable. Reports suggested he made inappropriate demands, berated them in front of others, and created a stressful work environment where even minor mistakes drew extreme reactions. Quitting mid-production is a risky move in Hollywood, where reputations matter, so the fact that 3 walked away spoke volumes. To prevent the situation from escalating publicly, the production reportedly paid each assistant around $50,000 in confidential settlements. While the details remained sealed, the story spread quickly throughout the industry. For Seagal, it became yet another example of conflict behind the scenes. For the production, it was an expensive reminder of how quickly a set can become toxic when tension escalates. 1. The Desert Walkout. During the making of On Deadly Ground, Seagal's first and only directing project, the crew had already endured brutal Alaskan conditions when production moved to a remote desert location. Everything was ready, cameras prepared, daylight fading, and the team eager to shoot. Suddenly, Seagal announced they needed to pause. He said the scene required spiritual reflection before they could begin. Without further explanation, he walked into the desert alone. Hours passed. The crew waited, uncertain whether to pack up or continue holding the lights. By the time Seagal returned, the sun had dipped too low to shoot, and the entire day was lost, along with tens of thousands of production dollars. According to accounts from those on set, this wasn't an isolated moment. Seagal's directing style often involved last-minute changes, long breaks, and spontaneous decisions that didn't align with the schedule. For some, it showed deep artistic conviction. For others, it was a costly disruption that turned the workday unpredictable. The Desert Walkout, as crew members later called it, became one of production's most memorable and expensive pauses. Steven Seagal's career in Hollywood is a complex story of undeniable talent paired with a reputation for unpredictability and controversy. From his earliest appearances on film sets to his directorial debut, his interactions with co-stars, crew, and assistants have left lasting impressions, sometimes astonishing, sometimes unsettling. Across decades, patterns emerge. Challenges to authority, sudden creative changes, absenteeism, and moments of behavior that left colleagues shocked or frustrated. While some incidents may have been exaggerated or misinterpreted over time, the accumulation of stories paints a clear picture of how one actor's approach to power, control, and ego can ripple through an entire production. Seagal's martial arts expertise and screen presence are indisputable. He brought a sense of realism and intensity to his action roles that few could match. Yet, as these accounts illustrate, technical skill alone cannot compensate for strained professional relationships or disruptive behavior. Directors, stunt professionals, and fellow actors often face difficult choices, balancing respect for his talent against the practical realities of maintaining a safe, efficient, and collaborative set. Ultimately, Seagal's legacy in Hollywood is dual. He is both admired and notorious. He has delivered memorable performances and influenced the action genre, while simultaneously cultivating a reputation for behavior that challenged colleagues, disrupted productions, and occasionally led to legal consequences. His story serves as a cautionary tale. Even exceptional ability cannot fully insulate someone from the consequences of difficult interpersonal conduct. For fans, Seagal remains a celebrated figure in action cinema. For those who work closely with him, he is a complex, polarizing presence whose impact extended far beyond what appeared on screen. Understanding his career requires acknowledging both sides of this equation: the charisma and skill that captivated audiences, and the unpredictability and tension that defined life behind the camera. In the end, Steven Seagal's on-set history reminds us that Hollywood is not just about talent. It is about collaboration, professionalism, and the human dynamics that make or break a production. Whether admired, criticized, or both, Seagal's story will continue to spark discussion, fascination, and reflection for years to come.